So what did she tell them once she got caught?
First thing they said is, "Where's Matt Cox?" And she
Right.
said, "I have no clue. He left me like a year ago." And so they're like, "Damn, she didn't know where I am."
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm borrowing money. At this point, what's happened is Amanda and I are one day sitting in the dentist office, and she picks up a Bloomberg Business Week. And keep in mind, the St. Petersburg Times, which is now the Tampa Bay Times.
Yeah, there's a guy like
Testerman, Jeff Testerman.
Okay, yeah.
They did roughly 35 articles on me. Tampa Tribune did articles. The what was it? The Chicago Tribune did them.
Really?
They did a whole series called The Fugitive. The Atlanta Journal Constitution. It just goes. So it's everywhere at this point. Dateline's putting together a segment. I was in Fortune magazine, did a whole segment on Becky and her take of the whole womanizer, manipulator, that whole thing.
Yeah.
The forcing boob jobs, forcing her to leave her son, just, are you serious? So, a bad guy, So anyway, it's, so I'm with Amanda, and I remember we were going through the Mediterranean. We were took a cruise. So it sounds rough, doesn't it? It sounds like a rough life. So
Nah.
I remember looking over at Amanda. At this point, she's like 25. I'm like 37.
She knows what you're doing, your whole deal?
She knows.
Yeah.
And I look over at her. She's 25, bathing suit. We're on a European cruise ship going through the Mediterranean.
Oh, you're living the good life.
And I'm like, this is so worth it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It wasn't, by the way. It wasn't worth the prison term. But I remember thinking, this is one of those moments.
Yeah.
This is amazing. People are calling me, Mr. Carter.
Yeah.
I'm walking through passport.
It's like smell the roses.
Yeah, I'm walking through passport control. Boom. Hi, Mr. Carter. Are you giving him a passport? It's like James Bond. You feel like James Bond. When you walk
it is
into
like a movie.
When you walk into Bank of America and you give them a bunch of false documents and they're calling you Mr. Black.
Yeah.
And they give
You're
you a
loving
check for $250,000 and then thank you for ripping them off.
Yeah.
You walk out like, this is better than the money.
Yeah.
Forget the
It's
money.
a thrill, right?
You're living in a movie.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It really is. And, right up until that sentencing.
Yeah.
So anyway, what happens is Amanda and I start seeing a girl. Amanda lives with me.
Yeah.
We start seeing a girl. I dated this girl like one time. And Amanda, you're with a girl, and eventually they start saying, "You ever been interested in being with two women?" And I'm like, of course, like,
Hell yeah.
I'm like, no, I would never do that. Have you ever done that? I'm like, yes, once. It's bumpy and awkward. It's not my thing. And she's like, really? I'm like, no,
Right.
of course.
Yes.
Yeah. She's like, would you be interested? I'm like, absolutely, of course. I was like, well, actually, I said, no, baby, but I'll do it for you out of love for you.
Yeah.
I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But I'll do it for you. So anyway, we start seeing this girl. She comes over every once in a while. And what ends up happening is Amanda finds out that Dateline's coming out. Dateline's going to do a 1-hour special. And now I realize I just can't stay here anymore. I like the United States. I didn't really want to leave the United States because I knew how to run a scam in the United States. I don't really know what it's going to be like in another country, but I know I can't stay here. So we've got a few million. Unfortunately, we have $1 million or so, at least in real estate. So the money's all over the place, but we got some money. So we decide, look, we're going to get $2-3 million out, and then I'll take off. I've got a month or so. I've got the real estate. I satisfy all the loans on everything I have. I start borrowing. We start having people get cash for us. One of the things was this, the girl, she ends up getting it. Amanda ends up asking her to cash some checks. I don't know that that's what sparked the conversation, but somehow or another, Amanda ends up telling her why. She's like, you don't understand, he's leaving, he's going to Australia. We'd already done the research on Australia. At that time, you could become a permanent resident alien. You didn't have to actually get fingerprints or anything. You could go there, you get a driver's license, you get a lot, even though you can't work there, but you can open a business. So you have to like show up with like $200,000. Well, I'm showing up with millions.
Yeah.
So I'm good. So we decide I'm going to go. Amanda's going to come with me. And while we're pulling out the cash, it ends up that this girl contacts the Secret Service and negotiates a reward for turning me in.
Damn.
And she turns me in. And one day I'm coming back to the apartment. We'd had a robbery, like a home invasion, a couple nights beforehand. So I pull up, I get out of the car. About the same time, I'm on the phone with Amanda. Amanda tells me, oh my God, I think something went wrong. And I'm like, what do you mean? She says, I just got a phone call from this other girl. Her name was Trina. From Trina. And she's asking me where I am. She's asking me a bunch of questions. She asked if I was at the office, like didn't want her to go to the house.
Right.
And she goes, I think she may have done something. I'm like, done what? She doesn't know anything. And then Amanda's like, I think I fucked up.
Oh,
and
man.
so I'm like, what do you mean you fucked? What? And I'm getting out of the car and everything. And, you know, realizing she's not really telling me, but I'm realizing something's wrong. And that's the Secret Service show up and guns and
Wow.
get on the ground. And I just remember blanking out. Like I didn't even get on the ground. I'm just like,
Yeah, you just weren't expecting it then.
But you knew that was it. You knew that was the end.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, then I lay down. He goes, get on the ground. The guy gets all the way up to me with the gun. He's like, and that's the first, like, there's so many people yelling. I just kind of like blanked out. I remember he comes right up to me. He goes, get on the ground. And I was like, oh. So I get on the ground. They cuff me, picks me up. They hold up the poster and they're like, is that him? He's like, it's not him. He's like, no, it's him. So they kind of go, okay, is it him? He goes, yeah, definitely him. It's definitely him. So he's like, hey, Mr. Cox. He said, we've been looking for you. You are Matt Cox, right? And I went, yeah, I'm Matt Cox. Yeah. Unlike Becky, who went gangster all the way up to the end, I immediately, okay, you got me.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
they drive me back, and I end up doing Dateline. Because when I got caught, the government asked me to be interviewed by Dateline, so
Really?
I was interviewed by Dateline, and you know, they started off saying I'd stolen $26 million, and we argued for a while till I got them down.
Wow.
And then eventually the PSI, which is your pre-sentence report, that they said that there was $9.5 million in loss. I argued about that. I got it down to $6 million, and I ended up getting sentenced. And I was sentenced. I thought I was going to get 12 years, and instead
You took a plea for that, or
I took what's called an open plea, which means you get whatever the PSI says. Well, my lawyer looked at the PSI and she said, well, we can figure it out. You did this. She's like, you're in between 12 to 14 years. Okay. I understand. So we go in thinking 12 to 14 years. Plus I'd done the interview for Dateline, which they said they were going to consider substantial assistance, and they were going to reduce my sentence. They were going to put in something called a 5K1 to reduce your sentence based on this interview they asked me to do. And technically, a 5K1 is for cooperation against your co-defendants, but I don't have any co-defendants.
Right.
yeah,
Becky's been caught. Everybody else in Tampa has either cooperated and been sentenced, or was not subject to be indicted, or they were going to indict them, but it had been so long, it hadn't happened. So I just did the interview. You know, not that I wouldn't have cooperated and didn't fully intend to cooperate. I'm ready to cut anybody's head off to get out of this.
yeah.
Really?
I'm no gangster. I mean, you got these guys that are like, I'm gonna do the time. Okay, well, you do that, bro. But I'm not interested in having my son call another guy dad, or have my mother visit me in prison for the next 10 years because I want to act like I'm some kind of tough guy. I filled out paperwork.
Yeah.
You know, that's the extent of my crime. I filled out some paperwork. I borrowed some money. There's no guns. They're not getting into a
Right.
shootout. But there's just nobody. It's not possible. So I do the interview, and they said they'd reduce my sentence for it. Well, I get in there. I'm thinking 12 years. I get a PSI, says 26. And then the night before, my lawyer's like, yeah, but this doesn't apply. This doesn't apply. Don't worry. We're going to talk in front of the judge. We're going to get that knocked off. She seemed very confident. And plus, you're going to get your sentence reduced. Well, the night before, the U.S. attorney says, yeah, I'm not going to reduce the sentence. It's not enough. So I go into sentencing, and my lawyer argues in front of the judge, and the judge just says, no, I disagree. With every enhancement, I disagree. I think that applies. I disagree. I think that applies. I disagree. I think that applies. So every time he says I disagree, that 12 years keeps going up and up.
Yeah.
Wow.
To 26. He sentences me to 26. I get 26 years.
And where is this? In Florida?
No, this was in Atlanta. All of my
Atlanta.
cases were consolidated. Like
In Atlanta.
Tennessee, Atlanta, South Carolina, Tampa were all consolidated there.
Holy shit,
So,
dude.
Yeah, 26 years. It was a bad day.
Yeah.
That was a bad day.
And that
Yeah,
was,
what is that day like after you get
Oh,
sentenced for 26?
listen, I mean, talk about like if I really
Are you trying to talk your way out of it still somehow, or
what afterwards?
anything? Yeah,
After they
Oh,
sentence you.
I'm done.
yeah.
no
you,
way you
you
get
give
out of
up at
that.
that point.
Well, you always hold out hope. Doesn't
Yeah,
like if
definitely.
you can't psychologically, I couldn't sit down and say, "Oh, I'm just going to do the time."
Yeah,
I've got look, it doesn't sound good. I'm a schemer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always looking for an angle.
yeah,
I'm always trying to figure out how to get around something, through something, over something. I'm trying to figure out something. So I'm trying to figure out how do I get out of this.
yeah.
But that day, when you get 26 years and you're walking down, that hallway, I mean,
Right, you're trying to just digest all that.
it's a bad day.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about just being fundamentally just fractured to the core. I mean, I tell you right now, I've never, and based on like me talking about it, you wouldn't, it's a lot of laughing and joking and I'm very proud of
good
myself.
stories. And,
Yeah, and good stories, and it's the narcissist in me
yeah,
that finds it comical and funny, and I it's very surface. I don't, like I said, I don't really think about the fact that the Browns had to go through hell trying to fix their house. I told myself they're just going to fill out some paperwork and it's going to be fine. I don't really focus on those things. I compartmentalize them, but that day, I mean, just fractured my psyche to the point where if I even think about it or focus on it at all, I mean, I'm just like an emotional mess.
Wow.
And going, doing all of those things and then going to prison. And then I was sent to a medium because I had so much time. Well, there's supermaxes, which is like where terrorists go. Nobody goes there. Okay. So there's pens, and the pen at Coleman, they have 2 penitentiaries, and then they have a medium security prison, and they have a low security prison, and they have a camp. It's a woman's camp, though.
yeah.
So I went to the medium because I had so much time. And I mean,
And it was nonviolent.
the medium?
No. I mean, your crime was a nonviolent
Right. I was
crime.
going to say,
Yeah.
listen, the first day when I show up,
Yeah, what's that like?
I get there, and as soon as I get there and I get my room, like I meet my cellie, and I always say cellie. People hear that and they think that's what you're the guy.
Your cellmate.
Your cellmate. Yeah, your cellie. So I meet my cellie, Mexican guy. Hey man, what's going on? Oh, you just get here. Oh yeah. Okay. So I meet him and I'm walking downstairs, and I remember all of a sudden they start screaming lockdown, lockdown, lockdown. And my cellie runs up to me and he says, hey. He said, Cellie, you got to go in the cell now. We got to go in the cell. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And we walk into the cell. When we go into the cell, I'm like, what happened? What happened? He said, oh, someone got stabbed on the yard. And I went, someone got stabbed? He was in the recreation yard. Somebody got stabbed. And I go, oh my God, someone died? And he goes, no, he just got stabbed up a little bit.
Stabbed up a little bit.
Poked a couple
So
times.
you can understand the world you're in. You're like, stabbed up a little. I mean,
And
it's like
he's like,
saying
it's no
jumbo
big deal.
shrimp. It's just a complete contradiction. I'm like, that's where you are now.
Yeah.
You don't talk.
This is
to
day
him.
one.
Oh, this is day one. Listen, I'm sitting at you go into the cafeteria and you sit down and guys are like, oh, you just get here? Yeah. All right. That's if they talk at all. Most people just don't even really talk. They're just, you got guys. I complain. I just got 26 years. And the one guy's like, yeah, I got 30 for selling, a little bit of crack. The other 2 guys are leaving in a pine box. They're like, yeah, life. So I can't even bitch about my crime, about my time,
Right.
because this guy got 30
Yeah.
for selling, for bringing a gun to a $10 crack deal,
Yeah.
and gets 30 years.
Wow.
These 2 guys are never leaving alive. And so how do you even complain after that?
Wow.
So yeah, it took 3 years before they sent me to low.
Like a king for so long. You made so much money. You traveled the world, and
It doesn't matter.
and all of that. You get 26 years compared to a guy who just bought some dope at the wrong place at the wrong time, and he got more time than you. That's crazy.
Yeah.
To think of.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is that I remember watching TV, and we were watching the news one day, and I'm sitting there watching, and this guy had drowned his 11-year-old niece. He was babysitting her, and he drowned her on purpose. And he pled guilty to 13 years. And I remember thinking, he got half my sentence for drowning.
Killed somebody. Yeah.
On purpose.
A kid.
Yeah, she was playing in a pool, and she'd splashed him, and he told her to stop, and he got pissed, and he drowned her.
What the fuck?
And I remember just thinking, wow. So, you can debate the amount of time. It's all relative. Some people would say it wasn't enough. Some people would say it was too much. I feel like it was too much, but then nobody's asking my opinion.
Right.
I'm biased. So yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was a bad day. Bad day.